And we are live. Welcome to episode 3 of the 667 experience, where we talk about six packs, six figures, and Sabbath. I got my co-host here, Jordan Rouse. My name is Shane Carling, and we like to get into it tonight. We're going to be talking about some really, really amazing stuff in the entrepreneurial space. Jordan, why don't you tell them about what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about virtual business. And there's a lot of people out there right now who just lost their job potentially, or, have lost, let's say, higher levels of income, and they got demoted or lost in the new world. And that's really where we want to focus today. And we're going to go over a bunch of different topics about how we've done this. But Shane and I have been on this epic journey for, I don't know how long. How long, Shane? 8 years, 9 years, 10 years? Learn to develop
8.5,
online.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, a long time. So if we can get rid of some of your pain by sharing some of ours tonight, and we're gonna go through every struggle imaginable and what we've seen. Okay, so we're just gonna cover a whole host of things to hopefully get you on the right path without so much struggle, lost dollars, all the money you can lose and throw away because of unethics out there or unethical people, all the things they don't tell you when you get into online business, all that fun stuff. So yeah, Shane, let's kick it straight off and talk about something like this. So the first thing we want to talk about is expressing your goals to others or declaring your goals to others to clear your path for success. So why don't you kind of unpack what that means to everybody?
Okay, well, this is a really interesting thing to start talking about, is when it comes to expressing your goals to other people, because a lot of people have some major, I guess, a lot of people have some major hangups about that, right? And I get it. Like I totally understand why. Fear of rejection is a real thing. People experience fear of their friends or their family saying no, we don't want to hear that, we don't. And the other thing is that psychologically, as a species, we just know that most people aren't goal orientated, and most people they get really jealous if you start talking about success or that. So a lot of people, they feel like they want to bottle it up, they want to hold it inside, so they don't declare their goals.
Yeah.
So part of this thing about declaring your goals to others is, number one, it gives you accountability outside of yourself. You've made a declaration that you're going to go and accomplish something. So now you peer pressured yourself into it. You have to go and do you have to do this thing that you've declared, or at least you got to make some moves towards it. The other
Yeah.
thing is that there's some magic about the energy that comes from speaking something into existence. In the Bible, the tongue, from the tongue comes life and death, and you can speak blessings or cursings all over your life. And unfortunately, most people, they really speak a lot of curses in their life. They don't have a positive self-image, and they don't speak very positively about themselves. You ask them how they are, they say, "Oh, I feel sick, I this and that," but it's always something negative and a negative self-story. So it creates a lot of limited beliefs, and it also stops your mind from pursuing, greatness, right? Because you limit yourself. So to learn how to become confident in speaking about your goals and your aspirations, I think it's a journey. I think that a lot of times when people do, they haven't quite yet built up that faith muscle to believe that their goals can come true for them. And I think that faith is a muscle. I think you work it, I think you exercise it, and the stronger it gets, the easier it is for you to declare your goals to the world, because you've got something. And a lot of people, I think, haven't really had a winner's history. And so they don't have that experience of winning fresh in their mind to kind of relate to be able to declare something. And again, I think that for the people who I know that I hang out with that are very successful, I'm talking seven figure, not six figure, the seven figure people in my life, they speak things into existence with so much certainty. It's just, I've got a buddy, he's like, yeah, I'm going to crank my business up to an extra $1 million a month. And within short period of time, he goes and does it. I've got another friend who says he's going to hit this rank and this rank and this business and that business. And then he gets in and literally just does it, right? He's confident. There's like zero doubt. Most people, you tell them, okay, so if you want to be rich, tell me, I have lots of money. or something. I'll give them something to speak, and they're like, well, I have lots of money. I have lots of money. They don't have that certainty, and so this is it's a huge thing to be able to declare your goals. I do it all the time, and it's amazing because people start to catch the vision that you're throwing down when you speak it, and if you're speaking it to the right people who believe in you and support you and encourage you, or your peer group of hopefully like-minded individuals and entrepreneurs, then they're like clapping for you on your way to success. They're clapping for you when you succeed. And there's something very powerful about the synergy in that type of relationship when you can speak your goals to the right people and they believe in you. Because sometimes we don't believe in ourselves as much as we ought to. And I think that's my spiel on that. And if you want to add something into that, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, so you and I think very different, and so I think that's good. I think everything you said is absolutely true, but that's not where my mind at all went when we talk about this. For me, it was like because I'm a family man and I have like my time is so constrained, to do things, and like I think a lot of people are like that. I think they got real time constraints, or they think they have time constraints because they create them. And so one of the first things with me is like when I went on my journey, I said to my wife, I said, hey, we're going to go to this next level and we're going to become everything that we want. We're going to go buy our home and we're going to do this. And we're going to have nice cars and all this stuff, right? The thing I had to do was clear the space with her and say, you got to let me be free to do this without being angry, without being resentful. So I went to my wife and asked her for grace. And I think a lot of the things we talk about here have some biblical principle and stuff like that. But one of the big ones that I think overarches in everyone's life, and they kind of understand this word for what it is grace. It means like being able just to give that person the space, respect, and mind to love them as much as they need in a certain time and a certain frame of their life, even though it's hard. It wouldn't be called grace if that love was easy. Right. And so what I say is like when I declare my goals, it was to my family to say, hey, I'm going to need your grace, your understanding, your love, your attentiveness during this time, because I'm going to be staying up from like 6 p.m. at night, working all the way till 1 in the morning. And then I'm going to go to work at 7 a.m. And you're not going to see me and I'm going to do those trainings on like Tuesday, Thursdays, Saturdays, whenever I can. Saturday, Sundays is completely devoted, and taking that time to get the education to be successful. And that was a big thing about declaring it. Another thing is like setting that point in the sand and having that accountability partner. It's the second phase to this. So you have to have people around you in your life that are going to keep you accountable. And it's not like a mentor. Mentors are going to help you get somewhere once you've decided your clear path. Now that's the accountability really, really comes from people who you tell your goals. So Conor McGregor said like, if you're bold enough to think it and you're brave enough to speak it, then it can come true, right? So it's just an interesting way. I'm sure someone said that before Conor McGregor, but I just remember his op-ed on that. And I really feel that not enough people ask for accountability in their life. They don't phone their friends and be like, hey man, I got this goal. Can I count on you to call me every week and grind it down my throat if I don't achieve it? And if I do, will you celebrate it with me and say, hey, good job, man? How many friends do you have in your life that do that for you? How many people are around you other than like me and you, Shane, where I'd call you and be like, hey, what are you doing? You're not working hard enough.
Yeah, see, the thing is, for me, I don't even, it sounds like I keep my circle small, right? I keep my circle very, very, very small, and it's a very quick exit. If someone in my circle doesn't believe in me, doesn't support me, doesn't love me, doesn't believe in me, if they're not encouraging me, if they don't see the best in me, if they're always like, trying to fight, then or if they're negative, then they're not in that circle, right? That's a very important circle that I have. You know what I mean? Because I couldn't even imagine what it would be like if I was sitting out there trying to accomplish something and I had a friend or someone who I considered a friend being jealous about my success or not wanting that for me. You know what I mean? Or I go and get that car, I get that bike, or I do this thing, or I go to that place and they're not excited about that. But I'm the exact same way with my friends and all of us. We keep very small circles, and I've also found that really, I guess the more refined you get in life, the smaller your circles kind of get. You know what I mean? Because I'm not trying to be a somebody to everyone. You just need to be a someone to a few. You know what I mean? And I think that's a really important thing, is having the right people around to support you. Because I think a lot of people, especially for if okay, so if you're watching this, or if you're listening to this, odds are really good that you're either an entrepreneur or you're curious about it. But there's so many people that have tried, that didn't have a good experience, that didn't enjoy the experience, that had a lot of pain in that experience because of just that. See, a job is easy. I think jobs are so easy. You don't have to declare anything. You're going to work from 9 to 5, you know, like super simple, right? As long as you do your job good, no fired. Well, except for right now, everyone's laid off. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not sure how that sits with everybody. But to run a business, it takes an exceptional. Like that's painful. So what do you say to people who, are looking at this, and the reason that they haven't really gone all in is because they're not willing to move their schedule around, or move their time frames, or move their schedules around for their family and their business, and they're not willing to get unbalanced because the painful feedback that they're getting at home.
Well, man, such a deep question. I think that we all hit points in our life where we want something more, and I think that changes our perception on who we are and what we do. I remember that where my moment came, where I just didn't want to be a small town farm boy where I grew up, who worked at the mill, for example, and that was a big deal in my town. That was like the big deal. I'll tell you a story. I got the job at the mill. I think I just turned 15 or 16. It was like right away. I got so lucky. This is like $25 an hour. I think it was like $23.50. That's a big deal, right? When you're like 16 years old,
Oh, yeah.
This is huge. And I remember it's just April, because you couldn't work there. Yeah, I was 16, because you couldn't work there. And I got the day after my birthday. It was cold. It was like April 19th or 20th. And it was so cold, and I'm chipping sawdust from underneath the conveyor. It's like just like maybe -2 or something, and it smells so bad, and it was just awful. And I go in after it's my first break, and I sit down with my buddy, and he goes, "Man, look at us. We've made it." He's like, "We're royalty in this town. Another 25 years, this is Dream Street, baby. Just hold on." And I look at him, and I'm covered in this stinky sawdust crap. And I go, "Man, I'm going to school." Like I'm like, I'm staying in school. That was my intention. I'm becoming something better. And that stuck with me. So through every journey, I'm like, I could go further, and that mill drives me further. But that was my moment. I looked at him and go, "No way, I'm meant for
Dude, but
here."
here's the thing. Like, what would have happened if you would have stayed there? Like, what if you would have been like, yeah, this is pretty sweet. Like, what would have been?
But right, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's just different. It's just like I just aspired to have, a different life where I got to travel the world, and I got to travel the world, and then I got to build businesses, and I went through such ups and downs in that. And it's just a little bit life than that consistent show up, do the same thing. I think I'm very sporadic sometimes, and my mind always wants new challenges. So I was drawn to that. But there's nothing wrong with a consistent life. My values were more though like expand your mind, expand horizons, meet new people, do those sort of things. And because my value system was, I think my main value in life is forward progression, right? And I just didn't feel like working that same job, doing that same thing for that long would have allowed me to achieve my value, right? And so that's what I think went into my mind. And I think if people haven't clearly defined what their values really are, and I don't mean like social idealisms like integrity and honesty and truth, like that's not values. Values are what you fall back to, what really define what you're going for. So mine are like development, wealth, forward progression. These are my values. Now you can have your priorities be different. Like my priorities are God, health, my family, like in that exact order, because I know if I don't have God, I got nothing. If I don't have my health, I can't take care of my family, and then my family, and then business, right? And then friends, and then charity. And those are my priorities. So getting clear on your values, your priorities, these things mean a lot to me. And as I got older, I realized that the gravity of defining those things and understanding why I did something was so much more important than the thing I did at that time. So really understanding your decisions, I think, will allow people to get over that cusp of why I'm not moving. You're not moving maybe because you don't understand yourself,
Mm.
and that old saying is like the answers are within. And every Greek school back in the day when like Plato and Socrates were there, on the top of every arch walking into the school, it said, know thyself. And so this is not like a new concept. This comes from ancient Greece, and understanding what's within will allow you clarity and happiness in life. And so I think that's what holds people back. And we can talk a little bit more about that. I'd love to hear your opinion.
Well, yeah, okay. So there's that. But at the same time, unless you've been given a good example, it's hard to know what knowing of or being something could be like. Let me give you an example. You know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. And you kind of know a little bit about what you don't know. All right. So, for example, like I don't know what it's like to be a doctor or a surgeon. I've never cut anybody open. And honestly, if you give me a blade and some stitches, you want to run. Okay. Like last person you want to stitch you up. But a doctor would know. And so like if you've never received love or compassion, it would be really hard to know what giving love and compassion would be. Okay? If you've never been given a good role model on someone who's ethical and making good, proper decisions, right decisions in difficult situations, then you might go with the easy decisions in difficult situations, or the basically the drug dealer mentality. Well, yeah, I could go to Harvard and get a law degree, or I could do this, but yeah, I could flip some kilos of drugs, make more money, But those people who grew up, they might not have been given solid examples of people that they looked up to of right action. They didn't have any good role models. You know what I'm saying? And so I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they they don't, or a lot of not entrepreneurs, sorry, people who are not entrepreneurs, people who are working jobs. They look at the entrepreneurial space, and what they see is they're bombarded with just ads, like boop, ad. Hey, learn how to make money online. Hey, do this. Hey, crypto. Hey, this. Hey. But what that does, along with the social stigma of online business or network marketing that a lot of people have, oh, it's a pyramid scheme and all that kind of those narratives, right? What happens is it kind of puts up these walls and barricades from the viewer, the audience, the person who's working a job, who'd like to change their life. There's pain in their life, but entrepreneurship could solve their problems. I got to get over here on the camera. Entrepreneurships could solve their problems, but they have all these programs and filters in front because they've never been given a solid, good role model example of what it's like. And the only way they can get that role model, that example of someone that they trust, that they know enough, that they like enough, that they trust enough to look up to respect, to see their decisions, to look at their decisions, and to follow their decisions, is you need proximity. You need closeness, right? And so the problem is that there's so few really good role models in entrepreneurship. And those that are usually the types that you have to pay to get to. So for your average person who's starting off, who's got all of this social stigma in their mind about why network marketing won't work, why online marketing won't work, why it's for marketers, why Shane has the gift of the gab, why Jordan's that smart guy, right? They have these stories and narratives, but you're so far away from them, right? They might see a video, they might see an ad. So, but the success rate is so sparse and in between that it's like, how do you connect that? So that I think that there's this social aspect. I think that there's a there's a little bit of social distancing from success, and I think that people social distance themselves from successful people because of narratives in their mind, because of social the need to be the need for social esteem, the need for praise, validation, and recognition in people who are not entrepreneurial minded. It's a very different type of level. So I'm just gonna. That's a lot. That's a lot to unwrap. But let's go there.
So okay. So let's talk about this. One of the great, like, okay, one of my great influences was Mark Clark, and he's like this pastor from this church, and like I listened to his stuff, and it was an interesting thing he said. He's like, think about this: when you were a kid and you had no idea what sex was, but you knew what chocolate was, you're like, I gotta get me some chocolate. Like chocolate's the most important thing in the world, right? And then you're like, okay, chocolate's the most important thing in the world. But then somehow when you get in your teens or whatever, you have sex, right? And then you're like, no, this is better than that candy. This is awesome, right? And so now you're here, but before you weren't aware of what that was. And in his preaching, he's like, imagine what heaven's like. It's like that much better, right? Than the candy. It's like that much better. So what to put in perception, what entrepreneurs don't know in their heart is they don't know what the state is of what it looks like to live at that level. And I think one of the great things that broke me out of mediocrity into success was, and I state this still today, I am my poorest friend that I hang out with all the time, that mentor me and take care of me. Everybody's lifestyle is way up here. So the way I've elevated my lifestyle and climbed the ranks is I surrounded myself with people. So I got to feel, taste, understand the lifestyle. And I got to see their habits. So I got to, understand what work ethic really was, how they kept their calendars full, how they valued people, and how they provided value to people, which was most important. And then at the same time, how they looked at time, how they looked at money, how they felt about recognition, how they felt about other people. These were really important things and started to break my narratives. A lot of different ones that were running through my mind is always it was a competition. And a lot of these guys, it's not a competition for them. It's not like that at all. What it is for them is how many people can I help get there with me? How many people can I be of service to? How many can I get my message out? I got something so important I can break the chains for other people and get them to a certain point, right? We look at like Vancouver success stories who've done this, like Dan Locke, for example. Man, that guy's went from down at the bottom all the way to the top, success story written here in Vancouver, which is like totally awesome. And there's a bunch of different people out there that are local that have done those things, that share those stories. But at the same time, I still think the same thing. If you don't know what it tastes like up here, you don't know how to quest for it because you're comfortable right here. Like we live comfortable lives. We still have food. We got roofs over our head. We get a certain level of entertainment. We probably still have a relationship. So until you taste the forbidden fruit up here is what we're gonna call it. You don't know the pain of not having it. But when you drive a Ferrari, okay, you're going to realize like that's part of you. Like that car is like an extension of who you are when you're driving that thing. You don't know the difference between your Ford and a Ferrari until you drive a Ferrari, right? So I would say you got to get into the things that you want in life, and you got to get around the people that have what you want so you can get a taste. So then you get uncomfortable not having that life. And I think that's my little
So what do you
piece
say to
on
the people who are,
breaking out.
one of the things while you're saying that, I was thinking that I think so many people are antisocial, really, really antisocial when it comes to doing business. Like, I don't want to call my friends and family. I'm like, what? Right? So I think right there, that's like a declaration of being antisocial. And I used to be super antisocial, but you can't help but think like, how is it that people are nervous or shy to talk to a couple people, and like we talk to people all day long, but like in this day and age of us being more connected than ever, why is it that people are also becoming more and more antisocial? Or would you say that that's a fairly accurate or an inaccurate statement?
Well, I would go back to something about motivation, because I think how we view the world is certain lenses, Shane, right? Because one of our core values, one of the things our values is wealth, right? Is development, wealth, forward progress. I think our values, you and I, we're such close friends that they're so similar. It's crazy. I think one of yours is also creation, which I don't have as much of, because I don't sit on a guitar. Well, I can play a guitar and I like doing it around campfire, but I'm not like you. I just don't like tune out and do the things, right? So I would go back and tell people you got to discuss your hierarchy of values. So there's a book called Hierarchy of Values by Dr. Joseph Martini, and he actually explains what the difference between social idealism and values are, and how to put your values into practice in your life, and how to identify them. And if you're not clear on that, you'll never get over those things. So do I value forward progression and development more than I value relationship? 100%, 100%, every day of the year. So I'm going to go after that skill set, where lots of people definitely value just relationship, acceptance, outside perception. These all could be values, right? Like I know people who hold in their marriages because, hey, I want a great outside perception of the world. I don't want to be known as the person who left my family. I know that narrative's out there a lot. So that perception, or I have the nicest house in the neighborhood, I have the nicest car, but then when it comes down to their bank account, there ain't nothing in it, right? They're hardly scraping by, but their value system is, how do others perceive me? Number one value, right? So I say, if you want to get serious, then I would look at your value system and see if it breaks out. Like, for example, when I'm doing selling and someone seems kind of disengaged, I'm like, what do you really want? Like, if you don't want success, I'm talking to the wrong person. Like, I'm only here to be with ambitious people who want to go. Otherwise, our thought process is divergent and we'll never achieve what we want to achieve. And I'm okay with you saying no, because then you go, that's great. I'll point you in the direction that you need help with, and then you go do that. But it's not with me. I only want to be along the same convergent paths, going in the same direction as other people. Because otherwise you're hauling somebody with you. It takes a lot of energy. And I just want to be in that symbiotic relationship with people I work with that allows energy to kind of explode, to expand, to multiply. It's exponential when you get in those relationships, right?
So,
So
what do you say to the people who hear what you're getting at, but their network just doesn't have those people? They might have that energy, they might have that kind of ambition, that drive, but I guess they're new to the game and their circle hasn't manifested a lot of change yet, and so they're here, but their people are here. What would you do if that was you?
I reach up. So, for example, one of the guys I wanted to get connected with just last week, and it so happened, and now there's an opportunity with it, runs a massive hedge fund. And I had a couple people in my network that know him, and I reached up and said, listen, I've been following your stuff for like 2.5 years. And I sent him a LinkedIn paid message. It costs like, I don't know, a couple bucks or something. And I sent him a message saying, I really admire your stuff. I've been following you for this amount of time. This is what was important to me about it. Here's where I see some cross-play and opportunity between us. And I really love a conversation. So if you're up for it, shoot me back an email and we'll book a time. And he did. So I just reached up, and then I got on a conversation with a guy who owns $1 billion hedge fund. But why? Because I try to bat out of my league. 100%, everybody should. But at the same time, I gave him what I valued about him, told him I shared the world. There's a relatedness there, and he saw, I guess, a young up and comer that could be a benefit and work together with him, right? Because when people see the world similarly, you're attracted to that because they're convergent thinking. They're coming together. So if you're expressing that and you're going after people you do converge with, then that's going to be a higher multiple for them to get into your life. So those are things I do consistently.
So my takeaway from that is if you want to level up, you don't know how, and you want to get around people that are leveling up at a bigger level. Number one is you got to go where they are. Number two is you gotta speak vision. You got to speak someone who isn't. But not the desperado vision. Like, how many times have you had the idea buddy? You know that friend? You know that friend, the idea friend who's got, like, they never shut the hell up because they got every freaking idea, and it's just like, wow, ideas all day long. No execution, but so many ideas, right? So you don't want to be that person. That's just you definitely don't want to be that person. But what you do want to be is the person that is picking up what's being thrown down in the language of business, and be able to at least play ball a little bit, right? To be able to know enough. So how does someone start learning that language, Jordan?
Man, that's a deep question. But first, again, you understand yourself, you understand your value system, and then you find people that you're attracted to that are above you in life. They're ahead of you. Like we obviously say, there's stages in life that you can achieve. It's like in exploring a wealth journey. When you're a young professional, you're like, how do I get $10 in my bank account? We got to work on that part first. And then how do I get out of debt? How do I buy my first home? How do I do that? Like it's a journey, right? So I say reach up. You'll notice I got the little whiteboard behind me. I have all the people I look up to on that board. So, the people I'm modeling my life after, emotionally, spiritually, financially, people I admire their marriages that are close to me are on that board, that I want to model my wife and I's marriage off. People I want to admire financially, people's vision I admire and how they cast it, people's influence and how they speak. So I have a lot of trajectories. Like one of the guys up there is Elon Musk. Why? Because I think he's a visionary and he's also what I call an applied billionaire. And I like this. He actually makes things. That's a cool novel concept. And there's a lot of money traders in the world. Like there's a lot of money traders. We can name a lot of them that make their way up. But I like novel people who create new ideas and build things. That's something I'm very attracted to. So I follow people who are like that and I reach up and I model my rhythms after their rhythms. So that's why I'm not in finance myself. I'm in business building. We go help scale businesses and do things, and that's what I do day to day because I love it. It's creation, it's value, it's service, and that's a tangible thing to me, and it makes me feel good every day I do that. Right? It's not just a pursuit of wealth; it's a pursuit of service. So that's what I'd say is like when you get around, check your value systems, model yourself after other great people, then get in those networks. If you're afraid to reach up, you'll never get up. Okay? Like how do you get up out of the mud? You put your hand up and someone's going to pull you up, right? But sometimes that mud's so deep you can't get up without that hand. So you got to put your damn hand up. If you're too scared to put your hand up, you're never going to get picked up.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's if I think about my journey, there was so many times I would reach up. I would always find the upline or a mentor or the coach, or the really good friend who was just at a slightly higher level that just happened to know someone that could make it connect and got me into a new circle or a new program, etc. So yeah, always leveling up that way. So which I guess that brings us to the next point we're going to talk about, which is about investing in yourself.
Well, here let's. I want to share a story about you, Shane. You're an all-in guy. Like
Oh,
if anybody
yeah.
on the call doesn't know Shane, like the first time I met him, he's like, man, like how I got really good at fitness and health. He's like, I cashed in everything I know. I own and all my money, and I just like live with the dude who was really good at it and just learned it. And that was like, you're an all-in dude. I'd love you to tell a little bit of story because when you talk about investing yourself, I've never met someone who invests
I am a
so purely in one
one hundred
thing.
percenter. Okay, there's a 0% holding back, and I'm going to explain something. Like there's a saying where your treasure lies, there your heart is also. Okay, and so like what you invest your time, your energy, and your resources into, you're going to get results. And so let's just put it this way. Back when I used to party and I used to like to do drugs, I did all the drugs, all of them. I did everything as much as possible. I don't want to talk about how much, but just imagine as much as possible. And that's probably about what I did. So I'm not bragging. I don't do drugs. I'm just saying that my early 20s, when I decided to get in, I went all in. Now, I didn't have a job at the time. So I kind of made my money in that lifestyle. And that was basically an all-inner type of experience. And it was an awful experience. My health fell to shambles. And so in 2000 and I believe 10, I met a health coach. Now I'd pulled my life back together. I was, grown up now, living in Vancouver, out there trying to pursue my music. And I moved to Vancouver from Vernon. I used to live in Vernon, small town, all my family there. I moved to Vancouver with no friends, no network. I had actually there was a couple people I knew, but that was it. And I had to start all over. And I was playing music and I was working at a cell phone store. My health was going downhill. I met a health coach, and I did one of those 6 week turnarounds. And honestly, guys, I was so lit up. I was so jacked. I was so energized. And I was just in this crazy, like super empowered. I've never felt this much energy mindset. And yeah, so I quit my job. I sold my car because I had an opportunity to kind of train with this guy and learn, right? This health guru. So I quit my job. I sold my car. I cashed out my RSPs and my ESPs. Now, for those of you who aren't Canadian, that's your retirement savings plan times two, like all of it. Gave it all away. Okay, any dime that I had, I gave. And so at the end of 8 months, I literally, after the training was finished, I had a backpack, I had $5 and no car, and I had some clothes. That's it. Okay, went all in. But I didn't have any fear. I was just, I mean, it was a little bit crazy, to be honest, if I kind of think about that now. It was a little bit nuts. It was, I was just like, hey, mom, I quit my job today. She's like, oh, great, honey. Well, I love you. Are you okay? Yeah, no, I'm great. Yeah. I got to cash out my RSPs and my ESPs, and I sold the car. Okay. Are you sure Vancouver's going all right for you, Shane? Are you sure, son? Are you okay? Yeah, mom, and guess what? I'm going to start a personal training empire. Wow. But I did. And that was a lot of fun. That was a very, very successful business, actually. So I enjoyed every second of it. So
So you say you invested in yourself quite
I
deeply.
invested 100%. And I've started businesses where I had an idea and I just literally throw everything to the freaking side and I just go all in to make this idea thing work. And I've had a few of them blow up on me, right? That's okay because I just go all in. But I think by doing that, I find my path. I find the true. Like I'm learning more about my nature and my true destiny, right? So there's a lot of good stuff there. But when you go all in and you get used to that, I have zero doubt of failure. Like zero doubt that I'll be able to support myself. Zero doubt that I'll be able to survive. There's zero doubt because I've had too many countless experiences of knowing that when I go in all in on me, something amazing always happens every single time. God takes care of it.
Live by faith, not by fortune. I
Mhm.
love it, man. It's an inspiring message. So people who are afraid out there, it works out in time. Sometimes it's a rocky road, and you get a lot of
Oh yeah.
pain on your way.
Oh yeah.
So just absolutely beware that both of us have lived that life. So if you're listening to this now, we really don't want you to go down that painful path. We're going to give you some advice tonight that hopefully you get to avoid some of the crap that comes at you. So we'll talk about investing in yourself. One of the things that I think is key. And two things, like other than courses and doing the education, like I have a master's degree up behind us on the wall there, you'll see it. But that's not where I got my education. It's really not. Like where I got my education was in the real world doing business. That gave me good theory, great ideas, and a very expensive piece of paper. But at the end of the day, I learned in different places. But I've established two rules. There's two things you always need in your life. Number one is a mentor. You need a mentor. You need someone who's there teaching you new skills, who's very good and can level you up. They need to be dynamic. They need to be smarter than you. Hopefully you can find someone smarter, and then they have to care. So that's hard to find, and they usually won't want you to pay them a dime. It's usually like one of the things that they're just full of heart. They've made it. They'll give that time for free. Now, there's a difference between a mentor and a coach. The second one is a coach. A coach actually is an executor and helps you get to a point of execution together. So a mentor and coach are separate. Mentor's kind of idea, vision, cast that. Coach is like right on line execution of your life. Now, a coach you're going to have to pay, and you should always have a coach in your life. They should have proven track record of success. But people say, oh, life coaches are dumb. No, they're really not. You should have a coach in the same sort of sphere who's done things that you wanted to do, and they know how to execute you from where you are all the way to where you're going to go. And it's very methodical, and they can help walk you along that line. Those are things I believe in very deeply. The next is you also need accountability. So these accountability needs to be, you need to tell your dreams to your parents, to your friends, to your cousins, to everybody around you. So if you show up to that party, they're going to be disappointed with you if you haven't achieved what you said you're going to achieve. Because I'm going to tell you that pain of disappointing the people around you and looking like an idiot is going to be very motivating to stay up late nights and work hard. It is. So if you're willing to go all in and get a mentor, a coach, and give your accountability and speak your dreams to those around you, watch them come true, because you'll be so scared not to make them come true. You're not going out with friends and partying, you're getting to work. So those are some things about investing in yourself. I really think that two of them are free, mentors and accountability, typically free, but that coach is that investment in yourself, and view that as of your bank of life. And having someone who's not emotionally connected to you, they're outside, and you're paying them for that relationship, provides some level of professionalism that gets you to another point A, point B sort of thing. And if you guys ever need a coach, a good company to grab, the world's biggest coach, is like Noomi.com, Noomii.com. They have like 10,000 coaches to choose from, all different disciplines. Check it out. So, really, really easy to find that. Love to give you guys good sources, but then you can choose from like 10,000 coaches and of whatever flavor you feel like, right? It's a good little repository for that.
Interesting. I didn't even know about that. That's pretty neat. Yeah, it is, and I've never heard it termed that way as well. Like a mentor is someone who is in your life, like who are the older people in your life that have had the experience to care enough about you to give you some guidance that kind of know and follow your story, right? They can see when you're running towards, the edge, and you need to pull back a little bit, and they can give you a couple words of wisdom in conversation about a business endeavor or things that are happening in your life or situations that you're experiencing, and help you do a little course correct, right? So it's very important to have that. And then the coaches, yeah, I believe that paid played. That's someone who's like auditing your performance. Are you doing this? They're holding you accountable at a much higher level, but they're also helping you sharpen the sword, right? So they're giving you specific instructions. You need to do this and this and this, right? And so that's good. And then the accountability with talking to different people and having your group, again, that goes back to the very first thing we talked about, which is declaring your goals to people, right? Don't hide it. Don't keep it secret, it's don't bury it, because you might die with it buried in you. You want to get it out there. So that's huge. and when it comes to, I guess, investing in yourself, especially when it comes to business, right? Not only do you have to invest in yourself, but you've actually got to invest in your business. And this is where a lot of people don't understand the hidden cost, or a lot of people, they have the wrong mindsets where they think like, oh, I'll just join that thing, and it's like, someone's at like a less than $2,000 a month income. If they want to build an online business, there's a lot of extra little costs that you're gonna have to make some serious sacrifices in your life to make some massive wiggle room for a season, right? And I think this is the untold story that a lot of people don't share or don't talk about when you see online marketers talk about how successful their students are.
Yeah, that's right. Where you're saying, hey, we made 100 grand last month.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much was your ad spend? 98 grand.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And nobody
So you
tells
made
people
2 grand,
this.
right?
Right. Yeah. So let's get into the hidden costs. Let's talk about what it actually costs to have a business. Now, if you're watching this or if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, here they're going to talk about money. Yeah, like you got to have a real head around money. If money or numbers scare you, it's going to be freaking hard for you to have success in business. You got to be comfortable with numbers. You got to be comfortable with math. You know what I mean? Like you got to get good at it. And you got to be comfortable when it comes to talking about money. It's so important.
Yeah, that's right. And building budgets and staying on point, and realizing that people always say, I'm going to start a virtual business, or I'm going to start online, and I go, okay, well, do you know the cost of that? Do you have any idea? Any business costs money to start. Online businesses cost even more money. Virtual business costs so much more money, because now you got to get an education. How do you do it? How do you compete against the hundreds, thousands, millions of other people doing it? What tools do you use? We call it in the business a tech stack, right? If you don't know what a tech stack is, you need to get more education, because the idea is there's hundreds of dollars every month going out in tooling, and then countless hours preparing. And then it might work when you start spending ads. That's why we A/B split test. Split test means testing one versus another, and then picking the best one, and then doing it again and again and again till you can actually make money. So people don't see this online. They're like, make money online and do these things. And that just is not true. For the vast majority of people, it's just like a regular business. Probably 99% of businesses fail in the first, 5 years, something like that.
Yeah. So
Ridiculous statistic.
so here, hidden costs. Okay, so training for whatever product service you're part of. Okay, they usually
Yeah.
have online marketing systems. Can be anywhere from 15 or 20 bucks a month to 100 bucks a month or more. Okay.
Well, just to put it in perspective, for my best training that I got to do online cost me $6,000 for the course.
Yeah.
Email marketing, ads,
And
sequencing, funnels, right?
and here's the other thing: is you don't start with a $6,000 course. You start with like a $100, $50 course. Like you,
No,
I think.
no, man, you sell all your stuff and you go all in. What are you talking
All
about?
right, all right, all right. So if you're crazy like me, you'll go all in and you'll spare no expense, and it will work for you. I mean, if you're like me, but if you're not like me, then it probably won't work for you because I don't know. I mean, I
Or
can.
you can be like me and put that sucker on a
Right.
credit card and let's go.
Yeah, but really, I mean, when I got into personal development, I was like $500 weekend workshops. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And those narratives and that languaging was so brand new for me. I was like, whoa! And now I can sit around with some pretty deep and advanced personal development conversations or lead them, and I don't feel. But at the same time, I went from spending $500 to $5,000 to lots of money and having mentors and masterminds and everything. Right? So I mean, I've done the steps. So you don't just start off with a crazy thing, but you would start off like, there's books that I think people absolutely need to read that are fundamental, and without which I think it really they don't have so much of a leg to stand on, right?
Yeah.
Like Think and Grow Rich. Okay, how to win friends and influence people. I know that's like the basics, and everyone talks about that, but it's a whole new conversation. It looks like you have something that you want to say on that.
Yeah, just like for those two books, we don't want to skip over them lightly. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill was written in the early 1900s and is a study of the richest people who've ever existed, and he interviewed them, like John D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, these names you know today, but he interviewed them and asked them what the secret to their success was, and they talked about mindset and how to move yourself and move mountains and move the world with those sort of ideas. And then How to Win Friends and Influence People, again, written in the 1920s, 1930s by Dale Carnegie. And Dale Carnegie, who most people, it's a household name by now, but he teaches like simple things like people like you got to smile. Rule 1, smile. And he's got like all these prosperity rules. And it's written with a very good heart about how to be a good steward of your community and how to get people to trust you. And it's an interesting read, but those are like fundamentals. You're right, Shane. That's the basic building blocks of mindset and success.
Yeah, and there's I don't think this is maybe the time for us to talk about like a step-by-step series of books, but we might put that in our Facebook group if you guys want to go down there. We might add that like a recommended reading list in our files, etc. But yeah, Stasm Taz says I read those two books 20 years ago. Yeah, they're all, and today they're still valid. They're just as good today as they were 100 years ago when they were written, or whatever. And so really important to get the fundamental basics and then learn how to get to the next piece of information and the next. Now, the other thing is hearing. Faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing. You got to kind of hear things again and again and again. And the other cost is that the time and commitment that it takes to plug into whatever team, all the trainings and the events. These are like non-negotiables as far as I'm concerned with success. I have not seen, and this is me personally speaking, I have not seen anyone that is successful in any network marketing company, online marketing company, affiliate marketing company, or website funnel building that doesn't show up to the events. Okay? I haven't met anyone that's successful at these things that doesn't show up to the events. Now, maybe there's a few unicorns hiding out there somewhere, but I wouldn't have seen them at the event anyways.
That's right.
Yeah.
So right. That's 100% true, because people don't understand that when they're outside of it, they don't get it. Success in things is a lifestyle. And unless you live it, breathe it, eat it, sleep it, you don't become a master of it. And if you want mastery, you have to commit. And commit is like going all the way and getting around other people who are doing it, so you get momentum and you get encouragement, and these things keep you going. Because how motivated are you sometimes? But if you phone somebody up who's making another 7 figures on a funnel or whatever, and they're like, man, I'm killing blah blah blah, you want to keep up. You want to keep up or shut up, and like that's a great booster to get you going. So I believe like committing to the events is really important. I do the same thing in my traditional business world as well. B2B events that are put on. I'm definitely at all of those sales events and things like that to learn and be around other companies doing amazing things. You don't know how much you can learn from like non-competing people who are doing some rhythm, some way of bringing people along that you're not doing, and you emulate that in your industry, and all of a sudden you're getting like 10, 20 solid leads a day,
Yeah.
right? In high ticket sales. That's amazing.
Yeah,
So
the people are out there, the numbers are out there, the buyers are out there. It doesn't matter what's going on with the global economy. It doesn't matter what's happening on with the pandemic, whatever. There's always buyers. There's always money. The money doesn't just go away somewhere. It's always just moving. Money's moving. Lots of money's moving real quick right now to all sorts of places, and you can get a whole bunch of that money when you learn how to get around money. And so, anyways, yeah, that's a that's a big thing. But the cost of business is there's a lot more to that. Actually, I want to before I move on to the next thing, I want to talk about this. So, um, when people join an online marketing thing and they think that they're going to open up an e-com store or that they're going to just run some ads to some funnel. So here's what I've seen thousands of times, okay, in different communities. But because I'm tied into so many different things, and I see the numbers, and it's countless thousands of people. They get them to online marketing. They're trying to sell a high ticket item. Maybe it's 5 grand. Maybe it's 10 grand. Okay. Maybe it's $1,000, whatever. And they think, well, I mean, they got a funnel. I'll just put like a few $100 into ads. And here's what happens. You ever gone to the casino? You just put a few $100 in, it just kind of just went in, didn't come out? Nothing came out for you? Same thing with ads. If you think that just spending a few $100s on ads is going to get you money, it's like trying to hold on to a handful of water. Good luck. Just squeeze that water real tight. Oh, no, you won't have a drop left in a minute. And that's what happens with ads. It takes a lot of time and testing and split testing and testing and testing and looking at your numbers and your data and learning how to understand that and testing again and testing again. And so really, I mean, you're going to pay to play. You got to pay to season that Facebook pixel too. So very seldomly does like someone's first $500 net them a sale of any sorts. Some funnels, maybe perhaps, some programs perhaps, but if you're going to do anything that's worth getting some money, you're going to be spending thousands of dollars on ads realistically before you start seeing returns that can even be worth noting. And then you'll start to scale when you start to get that. But there is a pay to play kind of thing in there.
it really is. Like I'd say minimum investment on education itself is probably around 10 grand. And then learning to use the tool stack, which a minimum good tool stack is 500 to $1,000, depending if you want to run an online retail store and then build a page out and optimize analytics. And like people, they don't think about all the things running in the background. And so we're just here telling you, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about going online, you have to prepare to have some money. It's a business. It's not like freedom to play. And this is the crazy thing. You have to invest a bunch up front, but then once you're building your audience and things, now you can actually talk to them for free. and that kind of leads us to the next one, Shane. And I'll just say, let me reiterate, it is not free to start a virtual business. It is nowhere near. It will cost you tens of thousands of dollars between education, tool stacks, and ads to start seeing success. Start to see success. And as long as you're prepared to make that investment, which in a business world ain't that much, just to let you know, like businesses transact for millions every day for people selling their homes, investing everything into their business. They take all their equity from their homes just to buy a business, and then the bank finances the rest. That's how that works. So, if you don't think you have to do something similar to start your online business to make investment in it, yeah, you gotta have reality sink
Got
in.
another thing coming.
Yeah, reality has to sink in today, because you have to put down cash, capital, and investment in yourself, especially in yourself, to get there. Yeah. And then you have to become a leader of people, which is going to take even more money and time.
And you got to do it. That's the other thing. I've seen people spend $10,000 plus starting businesses that they lost excitement over 2 weeks later. 2 weeks. I've seen people, they get excited for like 48 days and then it wears off. And it's like, could you
48 hours?
Yeah, this is the other thing. This is what, and this is the conversation I think that a lot of people who are in the network marketing space, they need to actually have with the up and comers, the new people. And I think this conversation I usually have with people is I try to whack the weak ones out real quick, before they even join. I'm like, look, you might not get excited about this in 48 days, right? But to spend a lot of money. But in 48 days, if you're not a millionaire, what is going to happen, right? And yeah, you see, because it's you've got most people have a job, you got their personal life, you got the gym, the routine. All of a sudden, you're
Yeah.
just trying to jam this whole extra business in there, right? It's like this golf ball is now stuck inside your life, trying to make it work. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't seem so pleasant, right? It's like, oh, I got this golf ball stuck right here. I was all comfortable before. Now I got a golf ball here. My wife isn't happy. The kids aren't happy. I didn't spend any time with them last week because I was trying to learn some stuff, and I'm just going to chill out this week because this golf ball kind of hurts, and I want to chill out. That's entrepreneurship. It doesn't go away. If you want this thing to be successful, you just have to learn how to grow and build around it, right? And that's the cost. It's a real cost. Is the cost on relationships, on your life balance. It's not going to look like it does right now. You can't do what you're doing right now and not being an entrepreneur. Think you can become an entrepreneur and think your life will stay the same. It's totally impossible.
So
Everything has to change.
let's talk about one more hidden cost is relationship.
Yeah.
And so one of the things you have to be very mindful of while you go through this, especially if you're married or you have children or whatever, whenever you're entering this, okay, is you have to, and with family too, you schedule your time to do this. If you don't have a calendar today and it's not filled with your activities, you're living an unintentional life. You need to get more intentional with your time. And if you don't like that, sorry, but I haven't seen successful people without a calendar and being intentful with their time, especially when they're married with children and things like that, because things are busy. And you can't, these are non-negotiable time slots that you're doing X, Y, and Z. And you have to let people know. Like right now, we're doing a podcast, right, Shane? Right now, my wife put the kids to bed tonight so we could do this, right? So that was a non-negotiable, and she let me have it because she's showing me that special word we called grace. And maybe not for tomorrow, but for tonight. And so that hidden cost is you're going to have to schedule your time and be intentional. If you're not ready to do that, you're not ready to win at this game. You're not. So that's just a real conversation.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the story for so many people is, are you actually ready? Like, you say you want it, but your results speak otherwise. And if you really truly want it, to change your situation, you got to be. Now, is it worth it? Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, like to build up a passive income for yourself, where you can actually take a month or two or three or four or five off and still keep making money. That's when you have a real business. If you're making enough passive income to support your lifestyle because you put enough time, blood, sweat, equity into your business that it's actually creating a passive flow of income for you and it doesn't fall apart to pieces when you're gone, congratulations. You did a good job. You can almost 100% of the time do that with a good, solid network marketing company. Okay. You can do that with creating courses online. You can do that with successful e-com campaigns, right? That are auto ship or auto drop shipping, etc. Like there's a lot of automated stores as well that people are doing. You can do that if you're very successful at building or doing investments, for example. But
You can also own a good business with
yeah,
people that you have good managers who work for you, and that allows you to be free. You just the secret is, and this is the number one secret to business, pay them well. If they do the job and you cannot be there, you pay them well and you do not micromanage them. You do not come in after being away for 3 months and being like, hey, let's see all your decisions. I see that all the time. So that's one of my pet peeves. People have great systems, try not to mess them up.
yeah,
So creating that system is what Robert Kiyosaki, if you haven't read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about all sorts of income. He talks about self-employed. He talks about employed, which is on one side of the quadrant. And then on the other side, he has business owner, which is a system and you can leave it. It still makes you money. And then investor, which is like the ultimate quadrant, which is passive income, which Shane is speaking of. And when you enter those other quadrants, and you could be in all four at one time, you never know. Lots of people have their different income sources till one quadrant generates more, which hopefully is your business owner quadrant. You haven't read that. There's another recommended reading, Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was given to me by a super wealthy dude when I was 19 who said, yeah, that's the first business book you read.
Yeah.
So it worked out. That
Totally.
was a good call.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. So Shane, let's talk about, once you get there, once you've committed and you're willing to lay down the tens of thousands of dollars to get an online business, to get going, to be there, what is omnipresence? So let's say you've come online, you've achieved a following. So let's say you have a few thousand people who follow you between different sources. Like I think you have, you're maxed out on Facebook, and you got a bunch of others. And like, for example, I have 19,000 on LinkedIn, like different followings for different people. And what do you do with this omnipresence? How are you broadcasting yourself? What does that do for you? And how does that reduce your marketing costs?
So the first thing you got to understand when it comes to how to become omnipresent is you've got to know who your target customer is. You've got to know what their pains are. You've got to know what their needs are. You've got to know what their buying triggers are. You've got to know where they are, what gender they are, you got to know their demographics, right? Like you've got to know specifically who it is that you want to help. Okay? You got to know what your product, but you got to know how to craft your message to those people. Okay? Like for example, I know that my target people are men, okay? Usually between the age of 25 and 45. The most, usually around between the age of 33 and 40 specifically, okay? I like helping the young guns too, but the 33 to 40 is sort of my age group where I really vibe with, okay? I know that they are usually over leveraged and have tried some network marketing companies, okay? I know that they're those guys that like to live life but don't want to, like, they'll live on a very tight bank account so they can have a nicer lifestyle, right? Not so much maybe to be seen, but just because they like the freedom and they like to enjoy life. And so that's a big market right there. Okay. Now, guys who are usually between that age, okay, or ladies as well, but I just seems like I tend to resonate more with guys. It seems to be what I pick up more, right? So it's they're usually go-getters because they're over leveraged. They've maybe had enough experience in relationships in their life or whatever that they're not so, like, they know that they got to go get the bread on the table. Okay. And so I'm looking for people like that also are highly credible with their network. Okay. But are maybe also feeling a little trepidation or fear around. Oh, we're getting some feedback there.
Yeah. Okay, so what you're saying is, like, just know your target market.
You got to know your target, guys. Is there a reason I'm getting? Are you on Facebook on your computer or something? Oh, it's gone now. Okay, so you got to know who you're going after specifically. You got to know where they hang out on Facebook. You got to go and add them as friends. You got to know how to post content that's relevant to them, and you got to know how to do attraction marketing. Now, attraction marketing is where you create so much content with the right narratives, the right information to the right audience that they start reaching out to you because they know that you got something that can solve their problems. They know that there's something about you and you have something about you, but nobody knows it unless you're telling them. And so you've got to get out there and you've got to make content that is always in sight, always in, like, giving people insights, that'll leave you in mind. But you got to produce a lot of content. You got to switch up your content because if you become only about business or opportunity, people will, you become noise. You just become static in the background. They'll whitewash you out, right? So you have to switch it up between broad content and niche content. Niche content is where you're a figure of authority, an expert in the field. You're talking about a specific thing, how you can solve a specific problem. Broad content is like your lifestyle. Hey, I'm here at the park with my wife, or I got my chihuahua. Hey, look at me on my bike. I'm playing guitar over here. I'm doing this. I'm I'm at the beach today, right? Like you got to split that up. That way people can understand that you're a real person. So omnipresence, there's a bunch of technicals to that as well. Little things, and you can hire a team to do these different aspects, or you can do it yourself, more manual labor. But there's some technical aspects to, engaging on enough stuff on Facebook that you just seem to be freaking everywhere, right? And there's some tricks to that, but it's really important to learn how to become omnipresent, because then you just become familiar. People don't you don't need to spend so much time trying to sell people if they feel like they know you, like you, and trust you. And at the same time, you've got to be okay with people not liking you and not trusting you and hating you, because when you start getting your message and craft it out there, welcome to the wonderful world of the internet. Someone's going to dislike something or everything that you do and say. And it's inevitable. There's no escape that. So,
Okay, so that's interesting to me. There's a few things that I want to chat about to give people some prime examples of omnipresence. So, the most pivotal election I think in U.S. history was the one that just happened, with Donald Trump being elected. But how did he do it? Like when I looked at the polls, I thought this guy's got no damn chance. There's no chance this guy's going to win when he first started running, because when they polled him against Hillary Clinton, he was losing by 24 points. 24, like a big 2-4. She was winning by. That was incredible. Like that just doesn't happen. So how did he win? Well, he was the most audacious, bombastic person. And because of that, every news station, good or bad, played everything about him. Where Fox was everything good, CNN was everything bad, and everybody in between. And so that allowed him to infect people's minds with familiarity. Now, what's rule one of trust, speed of trust? It's being familiar. They literally handed him, here's all your free publicity that you could possibly need. I was like, this is crazy for for people who don't want this guy in office. I'm like, here's an election. I was like, what are you guys doing? They literally handed the orange man the election. And I was like, okay. And this was all through omnipresence, all of which he just did through pure audacious, like bombastic behavior. And I was quite floored that people didn't understand this concept then, that the media played to the bottom line for ratings. And ratings, because that was more important to them as corporations, was more important than their values, which was crazy to me. And that allowed that to surface in the United States. And so if you guys want to know what the power of omnipresence is, that is a prime example. 24-point shift. So if you want that same shift in your life, your job is to become omnipresent, be in everybody's, and be on the tip of their tongue. So the more you, like, one thing Shane's excellent at is when you go on his Facebook feed, his best friend is literally his story, because he's sharing in the park, he's playing music, he's doing things. So what do you start to do? You start to trust this guy because, hey, I see his parts of his life. I know that things are like, he's got a pretty good balance. He's got a little dog. He's got a wonderful wife. They live a nice downtown lifestyle. He loves pizza as cheat day, like it's his thing, right? And then he eats really healthy. Like you get to see this and be part of someone's life, which makes them feel like what? A friend, familiar, a friend, right? And so you go back to like what that means. That's omnipresence. And so he does a fantastic job because he knows who he's talking to. He wants people who are convergent thinking, as we talked about. They're coming together. And he knows if he broadcasts exactly who he is, his values, a lot of people are going to be, I don't like that guy. But the people who like him are going to buy from him. And in marketing, we talk about a 1% audience. You only need to find the 1% of people who are like you, who want to buy from you, because that's going to make you very, very rich. And so, Shane, if you can unpack a little bit more of daily habits with omnipresence and what that means, I think that would help everybody a lot.
So part of getting an echo again.
Sure, go ahead now. Try.
Okay. Yeah, that's better. Anyways, so the technical aspect is, and I'm not going to give too much away here, but I'll tell you enough that there's something you can take away from this. You have to give to receive, and on Facebook and social media, if you're liking and commenting on other people's stuff, if you're giving other people's posts some attention, now I'm not saying spend all day long on Facebook. I'm saying limit your time, even set a timer, okay? Limit this activity. But, go give, other people's posts, like, comment, show some love, right? Show some support, give some feedback, comment, have conversations, Facebook is a social tool, so be social on it, right? And when you're doing that, and there's some old, tricks. If you had a post that had a lot of comments, go re-comment on it. Always be the last person that comments. Comment on someone's comment. They comment on your comment, you comment back on their comment. And they comment back, then you comment on their comment that was on your, you want to be the last comment. That's my little trick. Okay. But yeah, spend a dedicated 10, 15, 20 minutes a day working the technical aspects of that. You know what I mean? But without sitting there being lost in it. You're not sitting there, oh, I got one more like, oh, one more thing, one more thing. Like, some people get lost in the minutiae of social media. Use it effectively, use it wisely, and it will serve you powerfully.
Okay, cool. That's really awesome, Shane. I think that some of the things that you put in your day is like you're always kind of on point in terms of like discussing, things that are happening and what you're seeing and kind of the life you're living, and you're asking for people's opinion because you want people to start sharing, and you're asking for community, you're asking for development. So those are some of the things that I see that you do. In terms of mine, like, it's always just staying present with your audience. And I share a lot of things that are cool to me, and then they're cool to other people, and they like and comment. And like, I have the lucky thing, I have a pretty big audience on LinkedIn. So you get like 10, 12,000 views every post. That's pretty good. And then you get a lot of people feeding into that. And what I do is I reach out to the people and say, in a little voice message, and I say, hey, thanks for commenting on my post. That was really awesome. I noticed you're doing this now. Why don't we hop on a call, Zoom call, and just catch up? And I get a lot of like referrals and business, and I get to build a lot of relationship just like that. So it's kind of interesting what social media can provide is a doorway to restart a conversation with someone you haven't talked to in a long time. Just by noticing they liked your stuff or they commented on your stuff, and you acknowledge them for that, because a lot of people just want to be acknowledged. They miss that sometimes. Personally, professionally, they don't get acknowledged enough. Acknowledge other people. Acknowledge their contribution to your life, and you'll go really far. So I think that's a lot about omnipresence. It's a really great. It's not a one-way street, is it, Shane? It's two ways, and I think that that's the important thing to know.
I've seen a lot of people, they try to just one post. Oh, you are echoing again. I've seen it so many times where people, they don't do the giving to get, and they just make a post, but then they don't get any engagement, right? And well, yeah, if you're not giving engagement, how do you expect engagement? It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about the next thing on the agenda I had tonight, just to share some things that, where trends going. Now, Mark Zuckerberg, pretty smart guy, runs Facebook. We appreciate his, because we're broadcasting right now on his platform. So Mark, we love you. He's come up with a thing where he's promoting groups because he believes that people need to find community, and that's the whole basis of what he believes Facebook is. So he's opened up some realms to allow group advertisement, to build groups, to build communities, and he's lowered the price quite immensely to do that, and he's opened up how many people see them. So where he's really promoting that get part of a community. He did a big announcement in January all about this. You can check his video out, and he talks about how he believes that people should spend less time on Facebook, but higher value they get. And they're going to do that through groups of convergent thinkers. What he talks about, people coming together, right? These are some of the terminologies that he'll use as well, because he knows what that means. And so he's trying to promote Facebook being of higher value by building groups. And so group marketing is interesting in kind of building your tribe, as people call it, because we talked about tribalism last time. There's good and bad to both of that topic, but at the same time, it allows you to actually pour in as an authoritative figure within those groups your value, and then you become very important to those communities. So Shane, if you want to talk a little bit about, I know you've done some great groups with Brandon Brown, and you built some really impressive things up. Why don't you talk a little bit about group marketing and what that's meant to you?
So here's the thing: if you're selling a product, service, opportunity, network marketing company, home business, whatever it is, you need a group. Today, in today's day and age, you got to have a group, because the group is where the energy is. Okay? That's where people can become indoctrinated with the product. They see videos, you can have trainings, you can have private group webinars that are exclusive. It's not just on some wall, it's inside of a group, right? You can connect with your entire team, or you can connect with your entire community instantly. And again, like a lot of amazing friendships get developed inside Facebook group communities where they go from online friends to becoming offline great friends. I've seen it happen lots, and it's happened lots for me. And so groups are like essential. So if you don't have like a sizzle group for your business, you're missing out. Most businesses nowadays have sizzle groups, right? Hey, I want to add you to my private Facebook group. And some of these groups get millions of people inside of them, but some of them, if your group is over 300, 400, 500 people, you got a pretty good group there. I've got groups that are thousands of people. I'm in groups that are tens of thousands of people. I think there's a size limit. When they get to a certain point, there's not really a whole lot of participating, but they are essential for leadership to send messages to the masses. Oftentimes, what you'll see is groups will form, and then once they reach a certain amount of people, they start to subdivide, right? So you'll always see break off groups, because I think even groups have a sort of a max capacity for how many people will actually engage and see the stuff. And so the faster you can get to making sure your groups are starting to get groups underneath of them, that's a really good thing, because it's also teaching leadership. You don't want to be the face of your business. Like if you are the head honcho of your business, if you are the bubbling head, if you are the talking, if you are the president, the CEO, the VC, if you are everything, then you can't duplicate, you can't leave, you can't sell it. You've got to be able to create leaders. And the best way to create leaders is to have them eventually branch off, right? So train them up in the way that they ought to go, push them out the nest, and get them to start building their own teams, their own groups. It's very essential. But you got to understand that the groups are the way that we market nowadays. I've added people. I can't tell you how many people in the last little while here I've just added to a group, tagged some videos, and then they see the product, they see the compensation plan, they message me up, they're like, I'm in, I'll go with that one, let's go. But there's no sales process. It's just, oh, so just cash, credit, or finance. How are we getting you started? That's the power of groups.
Power of groups and good content videos.
Yeah.
gotta double that one up, man. Yeah, groups are a big thing. Even in the B2B world, I get my clients to create mastermind groups, and this is where they invite their clients in, share ideas. They do like weekly webinars. They feed into those groups, right? Pour in content, and then what we do is we develop moderators, and moderators are really good group community members that love to be active on the platform, and you give them the license to moderate the content that comes through. And like one of the important things in building successful groups with thousands of people is really train good moderators and have like a certain cast type for that can provide not just content, but are really involved in the community to produce value. And so when we talk about group marketing, a lot has to do with like moderators, sorry. And then the cool thing is you can join lots of groups and see what good groups are like, right? There's some great ones that I really like by Landon Stewart. He's got a great one called Social Media Entrepreneurs. If you guys want to check out a really well-run group, really well-curated group, that would be one that you can check out.
Yeah.
But there's tons out there in the world that you guys can pick, but those are some of the ones that have good modeling and actually training involved in groups that you guys can take a look at. And then I think Brandon Brown has one too that you work with, hey Shane?
Artist, which is dynamite. His team is crushing it.
What's it called?
The 9 to 5. I'm echoing again.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. 9 to 5 escape artist,
9 to
right?
5 escape artist, yeah.
Cool. So the next one would be like let's talk about ethics in the online world, because ethics in the online world is an interesting kind of principle that I've run around, and everyone's kind of been guilty of this. We chase the money, the shiny object gets our attention, and our focus goes there and pulls us away to different things. And sometimes it's not a lack of ethics, but it's a lack of focus. That take people down certain paths. Like, we'll both know like gifting programs, like those things are highly illegal. Stay away. Like, that's not real business. Gifting is illegal.
I'm going to talk about that. Okay, so like, what is right, what is wrong? Well, if it's illegal, it's wrong. That's I'm just going to a very clear statement. If it's illegal, it's wrong. Okay? Probably a reason why it's illegal. So like the gifting clouds, and there's been some of these schemes that people have come up with. And the thing is, once someone's gotten a taste of the money, they convert to the dark side. Oh, the dark force is strong. The dark side, right? They I've seen it happen. I've seen some friends who were like so anti the, the there's the $5,000 cloud. You just give me 5 grand, and then you go find 2 people to give you 5 grand, and then we pat that out to and when we have 8 people at the bottom, the person at the top gets 40 grand, and we break it into two, and everyone go find a bunch more people. Like it literally names that the exact scheme, it's like verbatim names it in the government's FTC, I think it is, or whatever it is. So they're like, if it looks like this and it's the $5,000 one, it's definitely illegal. But then you have all these people at the thing and like, well, I have a friend, she makes like 30,000 a month doing that, and she loves it, and she said it's super legal. So wait a second. So your friend who makes $30,000 a month doing this illegal scam doesn't think it's illegal. She's making $30,000 a month, but is she? Well, oh yeah, and she's not a lawyer. Oh, did she talk to a lawyer? Well, we know someone who's a lawyer that's doing it. Oh, sweet. So you know a crooked lawyer that's in an illegal scam, right? I gotcha. Okay, so sweet. Yeah, thanks. Anyways, guys, the thing is, you gotta just ask yourself. Here's the simplest way to figure out whether to do it or not. Okay? Can someone get hurt and lose a bunch of money and get no product or service of equal value or money? Can someone get hurt and lose a bunch of money? But Shane, everybody's responsible to make their own choices. We're all grown-ups. Yeah, but they wouldn't have known about that thing. And you triggered all their little gambling freaking greedy goblins all up in their brain, talking about big money. They got super enticed by you, right? It's your fault. You showed it to them. Now they've cashed out their freaking RSPs and they've drained their bank account. They went all in. Now I'm all about going all. I'm an all-inner, but not when it comes to something where like there's like a massive likelihood that they're just going to run off with my money. So like in 2017, there was thousands, many thousands of these scams that went out. Hey, you give us some money, we'll multiply your money. And so the other thing is, if it looks like this, if you put money in and money just keeps pouring out, like crazy returns that are not actually mathematically possible, like 1% a day, 2% a day. Oh, I get like 5 or 6% a week. You can't actually be intelligent or sane and think that is going to work. Because if it was true, then why isn't Warren Buffett doing it? He would be a trillionaire. He'd be a trillionaire. If Warren Buffett turned his 100 billion or whatever it is and made 30% a month, could you imagine that compounding? Why doesn't he have all of the money then? Okay? Common sense says you need to think about things a little bit. That's my and maybe I get a little rough around the edges when I come to talk about this, but I'm not here to butter up people's feelings. I'm here to get them with the freaking reality and get them to use their brain a little bit and think. Like, do you do the compounding? I saw someone make a post. Oh my gosh, guys, do you know that if you had $1,000 compounded at 10% a month over 24 months, you'd be like, or something, it was like the total was like $9 million. I was like, yeah.
So I'm going to take a couple shots here just
ahead.
to let people know how I feel about some opportunities that exist. Okay.
By the way, there's lots of good opportunities, but there's certain ones.
So here's some opportunities that bug me. Just so you know, when you trade stocks and when you trade Forex and when you trade anything like cryptocurrency, you do not control the markets. You do not control the outcomes. Now, unless you went to school and done finance, and I've done a bunch of it, and I still think it's like gambling, okay? And I have many courses in finance and many different designations. So let's talk about this for a minute, okay? If you are involved in one of these and you don't think it's betting, it is betting. Now, is it true that with your systems you could have a better odds on your betting? Yes, it is true. But remember, when you're leveraging in Forex 500 to 1 or 400 to 1, your money can disappear fairly quickly with the small move of a market. So I want you to be very conscious that these things that you're doing are gambling. They're just a form of maybe a little bit lower risk gambling than putting it all on black on a roulette table, but it's still gambling. And I've seen people up lots of money, and I've seen people down lots of money. I would say that I go back to Elon Musk's quote when he was interviewed by Joe Rogan the other day, and he said, if you're not creating or making things, you're not really doing anything. So I would challenge everyone to be out there, to be of a value, a service, developing others, things like that. Now, I'm not against those companies existing. I believe it's a free market and you can do what you want. And I believe that, hey, you can. If you get really good at trading, you can make money. But again, you're not creating, you're not doing anything. You're playing money games. Okay, so substantially, I think that, as a personal opinion, is of lower value from those people who are giving active service or actually making something that we use, like a potato farmer, because y'all eat potatoes, so do I, right? Or, spinach, like these things are of value. So I just want you to note that if you are trading derivatives, or if you're trading options, or if you're trading cryptocurrency, or if you're trading money or Forex or stocks, this is where you have to wake up and remember, it is gambling. And if you lose, I will not feel sorry for you. If you do it intelligently, good for you. There are fund managers. So just to talk on Shane's part, there's fund managers that run billion-dollar hedge funds. And if they get 10% a year, they're like, that's a good year. So just so you understand that, and go into the market when people say 10% a month, you just go the other way. You turn around, you go the other way. That's a scam. That's what that is. All right. So just beware that in markets.
Here's the other thing. So marketers and money. So marketers get really excited when they start making a little bit of money, because usually marketers started off broke. Okay. Like almost 100% of marketers started off practically, piss poor and penniless. Okay. So here's the deal. Get a little bit of money. They get really, really excited. Guys, this is the best freaking software. This is the best freaking program. Holy crap, man. These guys, I won like 20 trades in a row. It was freaking awesome. And it's like, oh, cool. So how much did you turn your account up to? All right. So you put $5,000 in, or $1,000 in. Okay. So what's it at now? You're at like $6,700. Dude, that is freaking phenomenal. Congratulations. Right? But what they don't tell you is that 2 weeks later, when they got on the wrong end of the trade, they didn't put a stop loss in, or they had like 3 massive losing trades, and there were 2 over leverage, and they went from $6,700 down to like $4,200. And they're not going to tell you when they fall down. They're not going to tell you. They're only going to be really excited. They're going to be like, man, it's so freaking great. This is the best product. But you got to realize, they'll tell you about the wins, but then they don't tell you when they lose more than they ever won. And that happens like all the freaking time. Okay. Which is ridiculous. So anyways, you gotta pay attention, like use some discernment, folks. You know what I mean? Ask more questions, because people get excited about something because it might be growing fast, right? Well, this person's already got 10,000 people in their team. This person's already making $10,000 a month. That person over there is making $20,000 a month. But like, look at the numbers, look at the history of the company, look at the leaders, look at the team, look at the community, look at the culture, look at the marketing, look at the longevity, ask more questions, seek counsel, get more advice. I'm not saying get stuck, but if it's one of these things where it's money and it's crypto or Forex or all those, you really want to pay attention, use some discernment, take your time a little bit. You don't just go crazy and jump all into something, because, in entrepreneurship or network marketing or a home-based business, you really do. There is a certain breaking point. I don't think you can do 100 companies and still come out kicking butt. You know what I mean? Like, you want to stick to, maybe in your endeavors, no more than a handful or 2.
Yeah, and let's just base on one more thing. So when you guys look into the online world, don't believe all these guys are saying, "Oh, I make 200 grand a month," and they go, that could be true. I could say yes, but then you have to ask them what their ad spend, their business cost is. I always ask people, okay, cool, you make 200 grand a month. What's your profit? Yeah. Because I know a lot of businesses that say, oh, I got $5 million in revenue. I go, cool, what's your EBITDA? Because in business to business world, we ask for their earnings before interest and taxes and amortization. Why? Because that tells you the true measure of a business. I don't care if you have a $5 million in revenue company if you're making $1 in profit. right? It doesn't mean anything. It's worth $4. That's what your company's worth at that point. So the idea that you have to kind of read between the lines and ask the right questions. There's an old saying that the quality of the questions that you ask will determine the quality of your life. Make sure you dig into people and ask those questions. Okay, there was an old thing that one of my buddy Eric, he's one of my mentors in the business. He said, "Man, just if you want to see the value of your upline, ask him to show you their bank account." And he pull out his phone, and there's like 7 digits in his bank account. You'd be like, "Okay, I can believe that guy." That was really good. I loved Eric for that because he put his money where his mouth was, and that was it. So the next one is that, Shane, to finish it up for tonight, is what does online success mean? And there's one key word that stands out to me, and this is the same in all my life, is consistency. Consistent action breeds results. And I want you to finish it off with that and let people know what you do consistently to produce that success, because that's the definition, I think, online.
Here, I'll tell you this. I can be very obtuse, okay? I can be thick-headed. I can be blind. But I also have a very thick skull. And I am very hard-headed. And my head breaks the wall. The wall does not break my head. All right? So consistency is doing it every day. And if you take a little bit of time off, you got to get back and do it again and again and again. And it's not about your feelings. Screw your feelings. If you think your business is about your feelings, you're going to not succeed. It's not about your feelings. Like, find me one person who's been married for 40 years who every single day they're just like, oh, it's honeymoon. Like, come on. It's not going to work like that. You got to work for those. You got to do the work to create the feelings, and you got to choose to be excited about your business. And this is from the same mentor, Eric, actually. You've got to choose to be excited every single day, and it's a choice. It's not going to just feel for itself. You're not going to wake up every day after 13 rejections when you're learning things the hard way and you talk to your entire network and all your friends make fun of you and you missed the last webinar and now your coach is upset and you got a big tax bill and you're like, oh my gosh, you're looking at your credit card statements and then you go and get on the phone telling everyone about this freaking opportunity. And really all you want to do is punch your freaking laptop. Okay? Like, so let's get straight. You got to create energy. It's not about how you feel. Screw your feelings. It's not about your feelings. It's about your bank account. And you need to understand that when it comes to business. It's about what you're rolling in. And when you have a bigger bank account, you'll have better feelings. Pretty much guarantee that. So, like, you got to realize that the work is worth it. You got to do the work. And you've got to be willing to suck for a season of your life at what you're doing so you can finally get good. I started off as rough around the edges as you can get. I probably still am, but every day, just like I refine my beard, I refine my business and I refine my character. And you've got to do the same thing.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. It's a season of your life, and you have to be willing to trade something for something. Nothing's free, and the only thing we have to trade is time. In essence, it really is, because money's a construct. Time is what we can trade. So you have to decide how you want to spend your time, because if you give a few years of your life now, you can live the rest of your life like most people never will imagine to. But it takes things that most people don't have nowadays. It takes discipline, it takes hard work, it takes planning, it takes intention, and it takes bravery. It takes courage. It takes resolve. When stuff gets hard and you're in the mud, do you have the network to pull you out of the mud? Do you have people you can reach up to? And if you don't, how are you going to get them? Go get them. Reach up. So you gotta have the courage. And if you want to live in your own squalor and hate yourself all your life, I'd say that's a pretty unfulfilled life. But no one looks back at their life and, having tried to get everything that they wanted, goes, you know what? I regret trying. No one says that. No one says that. So I just say the last message that we have: stay consistent, stay true, have courage, be brave, go try, and reach up. There's people out there that are willing to help you for no good reason other than they're altruistic. They're good people out there. And I know when you turn on the news, you think it's all crap, but it's not. We live in a really awesome world, and it's filled with really awesome stuff. And sometimes you just got to let go of the news and let go of all these conspiracy theories and let go of all this crap and realize that, man, I live in the freest, best time in the history of mankind with the most amenities and the most ability to move up and the most freedom and a beautiful world they can travel in and participate and be a contributor to. And then you can walk away and believe that there's a reason for you to go get what you want, because man, the world's cool. The world's awesome, and it's filled with amazing people. And just like I get to hang out with my best buddy Shane and talk about random stuff and have you all listen, we appreciate you. You can keep joining us, and we'll be here and we're around, and comment on our stuff. And whether you like or dislike us, we like both of those. Dislikes are fun too,
Yeah.
because we get to talk about them. So don't be afraid to put your hate. We'll let it motivate.
Yeah. Now, hey guys, you also want to go to YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the 667 Experience. Make sure you join our Facebook page. If you're seeing this on my wall or if you're seeing this in another group, just click the 667 Experience, go to our page. Make sure you like that page, and stay tuned every single Monday at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to hit you with another episode. We will have guest speakers on. We're going to talk about all sorts of awesome topics: six packs, six figures, and Sabbath. We're talking about everything health, wealth, and spirituality, guys. We love you. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next week.